Let's be honest with your host, Just Johnda. Hello and welcome to another Just Johnda's LBD. This is number 8, and I'm sorry we haven't done these in a while. There's been so much going on, and if you've been following, we've been having lots of fun with some reality shows, but of course, we have to always stay with what makes Let's Be Honest with Just Johnda what it is, which is you all hearing what I have to say about a lot of other things that go on in the world and in our world in particular. So tonight, I'm really excited because I have a special guest and we are going to talk about something that happens with a lot of people, which is home improvement issues that could possibly end up turning into true crime. I have him coming on, but it sounds like we may have a little technical difficulties. Are you there?
I'm here, Sean. I'm here, John.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Make sure there's nothing else on in the background, so you can't have your computer on or anything. It's just got to be you on the phone so that there's no echo.
Just me and the phone.
Okay. All right. So everyone, if this voice sounds familiar to some of you, this is Sean, who is our co-host on the Ready to Love podcast that we do here. And he's come on tonight to do what I've also offered to many of you, which is to let me know if there's something going on your end of the world, and if it's something that we could talk about here on Just Johnda's LBD. So I'm hoping we get the little technical things worked out, and then we will be right on to it. Okay, so I'm not hearing the extra. What's going on your end, Sean?
Johnda, can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine. There just seems to be some weirdness, but it's not so bad when you're talking. So we're just going to try and power through, see if it improves, and stay perfectly still.
Well, I have headphones on now.
Oh, well,
so
headphones
you should be able to
definitely
hear
help.
me. I have a headphone.
Okay,
then cool. So then you should be able to hear me on one spot.
All right, that sounds wonderful. Okay, as long as you don't move.
Okay.
All right.
I won't move.
Okay, so Sean, I called this episode When Home Improvement Goes Horribly Wrong. And it's a throwback to Dave Chappelle when he says, when keeping it real goes wrong. And that was what I thought of with this situation, because my Lord, for those of you who love true crime, we had Home Improvement that I feel like turned into a true crime episode, except nobody's got buried. So we don't go that far. So
no one got buried, thank God.
Thank God. So we're going to go to the beginning of this, and I'm just going to walk you through it so that we can really give the audience a picture of what happened here and see how something that should have been incredibly simple turned into a mess that we're still dealing with. And then on top of it, and I say we because of course obviously he's going to call his legal friend, and obviously home improvement issues happen to people all the time. It's really unfortunate because, as we know, things can go wrong with contractors and vendors of all types, but it feels worse when it happens with your home, because this is where you live. This is where you're supposed to feel most safe and everything. So
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
it pisses you off more because you don't have any choice but to see it because you live there. So
Absolutely. It does. It does piss you off. It does piss
yeah.
you off.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So you were looking for a contractor to do what exactly?
I was looking for a contractor to landscape my property. And I just wanted really to get somebody to get me started for the winter, for the summer, the spring and the summer, because during the spring and the summer, I'm really busy hustling. And a lot of times I don't even get to it until June. And I don't like to wait. I like to get it done early. So I said, well, let me get some things done early and I'll pay somebody, then I'll take over. What happened
Okay,
this time was that
so oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, so what was it they were supposed to do?
what they were supposed to do, what I asked for him to do was to mulch out my front property and to trim some hedges. And the property it's my house, it's the front of my house. It's not that large as far as what I want to talk about. I've done it myself plenty
Mhm.
of times. I was just hiring him to do it. So it's a pretty nice sized property, but it's nothing that I couldn't have done myself if I hadn't taken a weekend to do it. But I asked him to mulch out the property, which means that he has to scratch scratch and rake out the old mulch, turn it over, because some of it gets packed down, and you don't want it to stress out your plants and everything like that.
So
And
you
when I
wanted
did,
it to look spring and summer fresh, you
exactly,
know?
and I wanted to plant, I wanted to plant flowers and to have a nice fresh round of mulch on the top, which is most people do. It just brings in some color. I use red mulch. It brings in some color and it makes it look good. It just makes it look good.
Now, did you purchase the items and then he was going to put it in, or you just said, this is what I need, and this was going to be the kind of thing where he goes out, gets whatever's needed, gets the mulch, all that stuff, and brings it to the property?
No, no, I purchased the mulch and a little bit of soil. So I purchased the items, and I
So he
wanted to
just had to
have.
come in and do the labor.
He just had to come and really much do the labor, and I had offered to do the labor with him, only because I knew it was hot and I knew he's a business. He's just starting out his business, and I said, "I'll do it with you. I'll still pay you, but I'll do it with you." But he came. He made two appointments. He missed both appointments, and so
Oh,
okay,
gosh.
fine. And I understand those things happen. I do understand those things happen.
Well,
But
two times, but
he missed he missed two appointments, and I had scheduled my day around doing it. So then the third day when he did come, it was really hot out, but I couldn't break away from work. I said I have to do some things at work. I can't help you this time.
well, number one, you were paying him, and two, there were two other times when he was supposed to come and didn't. So be careful because whenever you move, I can hear it. And
Okay.
so the other piece is that I wanted to ask, because there's a lot of people who may listen and they get this kind of work done. Do you know about what size a plot of land is? This is like, I can visualize it, but for others who may be listening.
Um, you're talking maybe 15 to 20 yards. 15
Okay.
to 20 yard, 15 to 20
Okay.
yards square feet. It's like in an L shaped. It's not a large amount. It's not a large amount of work, but it's about 15 to 20 yards. It takes some back. You have to put some elbow into it to get it done.
Mhm.
But it's not like you can't get it done yourself in one
And
in
just
one
for a
day or one sitting.
photo, for most people who are thinking this, because the reason why I bring this up is because, of course, when we get into the cost, so it kind of makes a difference. If I was to sort of snapshot this is a row house, right? So it's not like it's all around the sides and stuff. You have people connected to you on both sides or on one side, right?
No, no, no. My property is standalone. It's
Okay.
standalone. It's not a row house. It go from the front of the yard to the side in like an
Okay.
L shape. It's a standalone house. It's not a row house or anything like that.
Okay. All right. And so but it's on a street with a lot of houses. It's not like those
Yeah,
street
it's in a
with the
residential neighborhood with.
mansions with the big huge
No, it's
lawns.
not like that's not like a mansion or anything like that. It's not anything like that. It's an average Cape Cod house that most
Oh,
people
okay, there
buy.
you go.
You know, it's not that type of size house. It's a residential neighborhood, working middle to working class neighborhood. Nothing much you can't do. And there's a lot of people who use landscapers up and down my block. And I have used landscapers for a number of years, but I stopped using them because I just got tired of paying, and it was a lot of things that I could do myself. And then when I was sitting there saying, it's like, well, I don't need to pay somebody to come, mow my lawn twice a week at $30 a clip. I just buy a lawnmower and I could do it, and I've done
Yeah.
pretty well by it. I mean, it's not as good as if a landscaper did it, but it's serviceable. It looks neat, and I actually enjoy doing it. I actually started to enjoy doing the yard work. So,
Yeah, and I mean, you pay for the convenience. It isn't because it's something you can't do. It's all about the
huh.
convenience. Okay, so you hire this person. They set two appointments, and you say appointments, but it was for them to actually come do the work, not to come and sit down and talk to you and figure out what they were going to do. They were supposed to actually come and do the work on those 2 days, which is why you made yourself available.
Exactly. They were coming to do the work. The business person or landscaper in question, he had gave me a little bit of history. He just started his business. He had left
Hmm.
flyers in everybody's mailbox. And one of the things is that in my household growing up, my mom and dad often would give people opportunities to do work around the house and
Absolutely.
things in that nature. So they would do that. And he was I said, okay. I called him. I said, yo, hey, look, you want an opportunity? I appreciate it. Come in there with the full fledged opportunity. I was going to give him more business. And he actually came in one day and cut my grass, which I paid him to do, and do some cleanup, which I did. And I paid him. I said, okay, fine. And we actually had a good time. I mean, like, we were in the back and I was even barbecuing that day. So I gave him some food that we were barbecuing.
Right.
And so I'm thinking that we have I'm trying to build a
You have a
relationship
decent
here.
rapport. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking I have a rapport with this gentleman. Well,
Okay. And so this is definitely somebody that you're like, okay, they're pretty decent. I'll be able to send them
okay,
people and all of that.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I
All right.
wanted him to be successful. So he comes in, and it's a hot day, and he does the work. I
Okay.
made two mistakes in this situation, which is what I usually never do when I'm hiring contractors. I didn't get a set price prior to the start of the job. So when he completed the job, he told me an exorbitant amount of money. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
way over it. It was close to, for what he did. The problem was like $800, and then the extra
Mm-hmm.
things he did was like 160. So it was close to like $1,000 he wanted that day. I said
And
eight hundred.
what time did he show up? That
He
day.
showed up. He showed up a little bit after 1 o'clock, which
And then
was
what
the
time did he finish? He showed up when
he
it was
finished.
like
He
the
finished.
heat of the heat.
He finished. Yeah, he finished close to 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Actually, after 7 o'clock, 7:30, about 7:30, between the 7 8 o'clock hour, or whatever.
Okay.
Too late. Too late for me to withdraw that amount of money, and the amount of money that he was asking for to get paid. I'm like, I explained to him clearly. I said, I don't keep that large amount of money in the house. I said, and what you're asking, that's an exorbitant amount of money for that. And I said to him, but I'm going to pay you because you did the work. So I knew I wanted to be above board, and he was starting his business and everything like that. So I'm going
Now,
to
was
pay you.
his preference cash?
Well, I explained to him and said, I don't have that amount of cash.
No, but I'm saying, is that what he wanted?
Well, at first, initially, he he offered me like payment. I said, you can cash at me, you can pay me half, or whatever. And I said, well, I can cash
Mm-hmm.
app it to you. But if you want that amount of cash, I won't be able to get that amount of cash to you. I said to him initially till after the weekend. That was like $1,000, and it was Friday, and we're going into Memorial Day weekend, and I knew I had a lot of things planned or whatever. And I usually my when it comes to that situation, I like to
Mm-hmm.
under promise, over deliver. So
Mm-hmm.
if I needed to get that amount of money, I would have gave it to him on Saturday. But I didn't want to be backed into a corner. But the one thing I made it very clear is that I'm going to pay you. And I
Mm-hmm.
said that to him clearly, which makes it a verbal contract. Then he says, well, can you cash? I said, I will. I'll cash app you the money. I said, but if you want cash, that's what I can do. And so I said, okay. He said, all right, fine.
And you
But
gave him some cash that night too, right?
no, I didn't. I didn't give him any cash that night because I didn't have. I didn't even have half that amount available to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't. And it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I was tired. I didn't feel like going to the bank, the ATM at that time to go get it or whatever. And that's usually been my experiences. And people know me in the community. People, you sometimes if you're talking that amount of money, a contractor, you don't have it right then and there like that. Most people
Mm-hmm.
don't have it that type of money. But what I did was that I wanted to let him know I was above board. I did a verbal contract, and then I sent him a text telling him I'm going to pay you. And I knew right then by sending the text that I backed myself into a corner because I wanted him to know that I'm going to pay you, man. And then
Okay.
but what he had did was he he said he then sent me three texts, and I said, I
Sent
want
that
my
night.
money. Yeah, he sent me three texts. I want my money. I'm coming to your house in the morning. I want my money. I want the money cash. And I said to him, I responded, I said, listen, I'm not going to have that amount of money cash in the morning. I said, I can cash app it to you. Or like I said, I can give you cash after the weekend. Me knowing that if I transferred the money, I knew if I transferred the money for cash app, I knew it wouldn't be possibly made available to me to the next morning. I know some people say it's immediate and all that other type of stuff, but I didn't want to back myself into that type of corner. But because I could have easily just gone to the bank or whatever. But I
Mm-hmm.
said to him, I will transfer you this money tomorrow if you wanted
Okay.
to wire it. It's not a problem. So then everything goes, but then all of a sudden I wake up and it's 7 o'clock in the morning,
And this is
and
on Saturday morning or what?
this is on Friday morning. It's on Friday
Okay,
morning.
because he did the work on Thursday.
Exactly. On Friday
Okay.
morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, he's banging on my door.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I want my money, this, that, and the other, banging on my door.
My God,
And
I feel like he's the kid that's on that '80s movie Better Off Dead when he's the paper boy who's chasing the boy going $2. That is all
yeah,
I can think
exactly,
of.
exactly. It was just a move that I had never really like encountered, like literally banging on my door.
Uh
So
huh.
I then I realized that's when I realized, all right, I know the type of person I'm dealing with. I knowing myself and knowing my position in the community and my professional standing, I said it'd be a bad idea to go out there to confront him because I know if I did, then it becomes a macho man thing, and I know myself, and I'm not going to back down. And
Mm-hmm.
all these things started kind of clicking in my head. So I said, I'm not going to answer this door. I'm not going to answer this door. I said it's 7 o'clock. The banks don't open till 8:30, 9 o'clock anyway. So I can't get the
Yeah,
money if until that time anyway. So all you have to do is wait an hour. And I told him
exactly.
that I wouldn't. I told him I wouldn't be there in the morning, and I'm usually not early in the morning by that time because I'm out exercising or I'm running an errand, and then that's it. And then I'm off to work. But he's banging on the door, so I don't respond. I don't go out. I come outside. My neighbor calls me about an hour and a half later.
They called you on the phone.
Called me on the phone, and she said, "Sean, did you have somebody come do work at your house?" I said, "What happened?" She sent me a picture, and he had thrown garbage all over my lawn, all over the newly refined mulch that I bought that he had laid. He had taken a buzz saw and had chopped up my shrubs, um, swept the mulch out into the street, just had done a major job. I mean, like it was this
And turned it
dumped over.
into a nuisance for your neighbors as well because he dumped it
Exactly.
into the street. It's just an eyesore.
He dumped it. And the thing about it was funny is that the previous day he had 11 bags of garbage from when he did my house the day, yesterday on a Thursday. And he took it away. And I told him, because I know those are extra expenses for landscapers and all that. I said, no, leave the bags with me. I know in my town, we pick up that type of waste every Friday. So I said, leave the bags
It worked
and
out
I'll
great.
just,
He wouldn't have to do it.
yeah. He didn't have to, he didn't have to. But then I come in and he dumped all this garbage on my yard and then cut up the shrubs and then it did like major damage, like um, um, shrubs or trees that my mom had planted when I was a kid. Um,
Oh, geez.
Shrubs that are like, to buy them, they cost me $150 to replace. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
not done yet. So it's raining. I come out, I file, I call the police, I explain the situation, I file, a complaint and everything like that. And then I commence the cleaning up. It took a great time in the rain.
And this is
Just
still on Friday.
This is still on Friday. I'm not even finished. I'm just beginning
Well,
right now.
no, I know, but of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying in
Okay.
general, of course, you didn't want to leave it like that for your
Yeah, I didn't
neighbors.
want to leave. Exactly. I didn't want to leave it like that in the weekend and people looking and things of that nature. So
Yeah,
I cleaned it
and
up,
it
but it
really
took
isn't
me
fair to your neighbors. I mean,
exactly,
I know I keep mentioning the neighbors, but we live in a community, so a decent
exactly,
person does think about their neighbors.
exactly. And I was embarrassed because people know that's not my
It's not how you
MO.
roll.
That's not how I roll for somebody to want to come do things like that to my house or that. That's not how I live my life. And I'm always watching out for the block. So I clean up. My neighbor's son and we clean up. And we get to about 3 o'clock. I had to go out, buy new shrubs, plant them, things in that new trees. I had to go do everything. I mean, like it was crazy. It was raining. We finished around 3:30, so we're tired. And this young man,
Yeah.
I said, "Come on, I'll go buy you some lunch." I'll go buy him some lunch. His mother calls me. The gentleman returned. He returned at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and did the same thing again. Did the same
Oh.
thing again.
So at that point, he didn't
And I
even
had to
give you a chance to talk to him, to work out the money situation, to do anything.
no.
He was just determined to mess up your property. Like I'm feeling real Cape Fear here, but go ahead.
Exactly. Like he was just determined. Like I felt violated. I didn't feel safe. Um, the newly
Because
planted
who
shrubs.
know when he's going to come back, and then
Yeah.
and
Well,
then you have a significant other. What if she had come there? I mean, it's
yeah.
just awful.
The sad thing is that we're still not done. So I continue to clean up in the pouring
No,
rain.
but I'm saying from a
Eh,
safety standpoint, you're not
Exactly.
going to
From a
feel
safety
safe
standpoint,
with
I was
her
concerned
being
because
there without you. So
absolutely,
it's just a problem
abs-
all the way around.
absolutely, I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want this to happen. It's a safety issue. Absolutely, 100%. I even tell my girlfriend, and I said, don't come over. Don't come over. And my cousin and I call several friends of mine to alert them that these things might happen. But each time when he came back the second time, I called the police and filed a police report then as well.
Okay.
Okay, well, I commenced the cleaning up. I got to go back to the nursery, replace the shrubs again. So it's close to like $400. You figure the shrubs were 150, 300, about $450 I had to buy because he just did went to town on it.
Like he hacked them so bad that they were unusable.
Exactly,
Mhm.
like they you couldn't do anything about it. He pulled one out the ground, the whole nine. I mean, I don't even know. I just it was just so brazen because it was broad daylight, and I'm like, how could nobody not see him do this damage? I mean, it was just so brazen that it was
It's
just
tricky
amazing.
though because depending on the crazy thing about this is depending on who saw him do it at different times of day, it could have literally been different people who saw him. Like, so the same person who saw him in the morning when they were on their way to work may have been totally different from the people who saw him in the afternoon, in which case they don't know if he's cleaning up or
Exactly. Yeah,
planting.
yeah.
Like, it's hard to tell when you're dealing with a bunch of dirt.
But there were people there who saw him doing the work the day before.
And
They
that
saw
makes
it
it even worse because then they're like, okay, we don't know what Sean's got going on over here, but it's the same guy, so just let him do it.
exactly. So then I go to bed. I say, you know what? I need to stay up because this is getting really crazy or whatever. And at this time, I'm at heightened alert. Like, what's going on? This guy may come over. I don't know who he is. Home invasion, the whole nine. So then I even go to sleep in my living room. I leave the lights on. I try to look through the window or whatever. But it gets to about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sleeping. I'm tired. I can't stay up any longer.
You
He
probably couldn't
comes
move after
again.
redoing your lawn.
Yeah, and I was tired too. He comes again at 3 o'clock in the morning, dumps garbage on my mulch in the lawn again. Like then cuts the line to my Verizon, then goes in my
Audience, that
backyard.
slap you heard was me smacking myself in the forehead. But go ahead. Oh my
You know,
gosh.
then goes in my backyard, and tries to break apart the cement window wells with a crowbar. You know what I'm saying? And then cuts other wires, thinking Verizon line, like a brand new cut, like the whole
He could
thing.
have electrocuted himself because he didn't know what the hell he's doing.
Well, I wish he had. So I don't know. Then, then, then I I wake up in the morning, and my next door neighbor, a young man who I mentored or I'm close with, says, "Sean, you need to check this. Come in your car." I come in the morning, I see all the trash again in front of my house, and then I go around the corner to my car. He spray painted my car, cracked the windshield, broke the driver's side mirror, and then taking opened up the gas tank and may have poured some liquid down the gas tank. So at this point, I'm livid.
And
I'm
this
livid.
is a
Yes.
vehicle that, up until this point, you drove that vehicle. I mean, you used it to go to work
I drove
or
the
whatever.
vehicle. The vehicle was in great working condition. I was looking forward to turning 100,000 miles on it because I plan on driving it for 200,000, 300,000 miles.
Hey, I feel you.
You know, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, did you just and it's at this point, I mean, like, you feel violated, you feel a whole bunch of things. I had friends who called me that were ready to come to my defense, figure this whole situation out.
Yeah,
But I
like
said,
you had some friends ready to do what brothers do when somebody. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
yeah, I had
We
brothers
we
willing to
we from
do,
the same area. We from the same
and
state. For those of you who
and,
are wondering, if you're new listeners, we're from Jersey, so we know how it
yeah,
goes down.
and I even had my young boys, a bunch of guys who grew up in the neighborhood who I knew, and I mentored them. I got them, and they even asked me, said, "What do you want to do about this?" and things of that nature. And I told them, I said, no, I
You're still
can't
trying
see
to
you
keep it
guys
on the
getting in
up and
trouble for
up.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly. I said, and that's not the example that I want to set for them,
Hmm.
that I'll be willing to do that. But it was just, but the thing about it was my mother's car that she had left me after they had passed away. And I had taken painstaking efforts, like everything that she left me, to take care of it.
Hmm.
And I know that people judge you when your mom, as your parents leave you things, how well you take care of things. And I've gone out my way to do that. And it just bothered me when those things when this happened. And I not
Welcome,
only I
Gideon.
just felt I have to move. I have to move. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
no, that was fine. I was welcoming someone anyway. Um,
okay.
okay, so all right, so let's go to the money piece because we're gonna assume because I told you, I think that clearly you're dealing with somebody who it's there are some sandwiches missing from that picnic basket, but because because that's just not how normal people handle things. Certainly not business people. And even if it was a vehicle and you wanted to repossess it, you can't just pick it up. I mean, there are certain things that you have to do. I mean, you can't just self repossess. You can't come and rip things off of people's property, even if you were the one who put them there. Not that he did, but you get the point. These things were then connected to your property. So there is just recourse that this person clearly could have taken if they felt that they were being taken for a ride. And for those of you listening, this ain't it. It does not matter what, because I know that there's going to be some people listening and go, well, the guy was upset about his money and all that, which we're going to get into in a minute. But do understand that the things that were done here, and probably some things that were done to you, and threats that someone may have made to you in a situation like this, they are 99% of the time inappropriate. Very rarely do these people do what they should do and call an attorney and find out what you should do. If someone takes you to small claims court, then they've done what they're supposed to do. Because absent taking you to small claims court, that there's nothing else counts. That is really their recourse for doing it. Obviously, if this was construction, then we know that they can do the liens and put the fence around the property. But again, there are still procedures for doing that. You can't just put the fence up and go, okay, you don't have access to your property, blah blah blah. And those, some of you may have seen that and not understood why. There's something under construction, all of a sudden work isn't done, work isn't being done anymore, everything is halted, and there's a fence around it. You just learned something tonight. That means the person who's getting that construction done hasn't paid their bills. So there's a contractor's lien on it, or construction lien, and so we're not going to build on it, and you can't go on it on the property and get somebody else to do it and then try to get around paying us. This is not that type of situation. And as I said, even with that, you have to go to court. You cannot just deprive someone of the peaceful use and enjoyment of their property, no matter what has gone on between you all, without taking the proper steps to do so. Now, in this case, as it relates to the money piece, because we know that that is going to be this person's excuse, isn't going to get them anywhere, but it is going to be their excuse. What if anything did you do as it relates to the money?
Well, what I did do was let me just thank my friends and people who, knowing just the people who supported me.
Yes.
I wasn't going to pay these gentlemen. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
my initial, I'm not paying this guy after he did all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I sat down with a couple of people who advised me, and I believe they advised me correctly. And they said, you agreed to pay this gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
pay him, because then it makes you look like you're in the right, and pay him soon, so that you don't. It looks like you abided by the contract, the verbal
Yes.
contract and the written contract. And so that was a bitter pill, because I like, no, I'm not paying him after he's done all of this. I said, I'm not doing it. But they said, if you're going to handle this legally, which is what I agree about doing, is that, and there's so many other things that you can do to get your compensation for it, as well as, I said, okay, what are we going to do here? And then I thought about it, and I thought about it, and what I did was, I consulted several people, and I said, okay, I'm going to pay him. So I paid him. I didn't pay the full amount that he wanted. I took some money back but I paid him. So
Yeah.
there's a transaction there. I paid him. But what I then did was I contacted my insurance company. Took loads and loads of pictures. I took loads and loads of pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and I did some investigation. And thank God, my next door neighbor, she had filmed him coming into my yard at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Good for
She had
her.
placed it. She filmed him and saw that. Then also my neighbor at the corner of my house, she had a camera outdoors her house and saw him taking pictures of my vandalized car or someone or the vandalized car. So I have both of those videos as well
Yes.
as I have that the work what he did there.
And at that
What I
point, given that it was clear that he did vandalized the property, and you had proof that he vandalized the property, I wouldn't have an issue with you feeling like there was going to be a deduction. I would leave it up to the court to determine whether or not they're going to award him the remainder, and then of course deduct it from whatever he owes you. But I don't necessarily have an issue with you compensating him for the work that he did do, and then leaving it up to the court to deal with the rest,
yeah,
especially as the numbers start to add up. Because let's talk about the car. What ultimately ended up happening with the
the
vehicle?
car the car has been totaled out,
Now,
and
were
I will
they
be
ever able to even figure out what the substance was in your gas tank?
no. Unfortunately, the car is actually still in the street. They were coming to pick the car up today. I had
Uh-huh.
taken pictures and explained everything, and they totaled the car out. I don't know. I
Wow.
think it may actually be salvageable because thank God it was raining on the day that it's spray painted. So a lot of the spray paint kind of came off. But what I'm most worried about is the what's in the fuel tank because that'll definitely destroy. So I haven't even started the car or anything like that. And he flattened the four tires and he cracked the windshield. So
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, just
so
major damage. I mean, he damaged your
major
vehicle
major
like you
major
had a car accident.
it was major damage. It was major damage. Spray painted
And even
all four panels of the car, put a major crack on the windshield.
he went out of
Um,
his way to make sure that not only was it damaged, but that you couldn't drive it. Like he didn't just flatten one tire to cause you a minor inconvenience. He made it problematic all the way around.
yeah, he flattened all four tires. I mean,
Yeah.
he made it to a point where I couldn't drive the car. And I can't drive the car.
Now,
I mean, there's things you. I'm pretty sure there's things you can do. I'm not a mechanic if I wanted to, but no, I said, the car was in fine working condition, and like I said, I had contracted to pay you. It wasn't like I wasn't going to pay you.
well,
And
no, I mean, this goes
yeah,
beyond, and that's why I really thought your story was important, and what I want people to understand. Because there is, as you said, there's things that you may have done this way or that way in terms of making sure you all had nailed down pricing and all of this. And I'm sure you're probably even aggravated that you fed them a couple of times, but 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 ultimately, I think that this is where people, and like I said, why I thought your story was important, because it's where people kind of get hung up because they worry about, well, I mean, maybe if I had done this, maybe if I had done that. There are certain things that are just wrong and that are illegal from a criminal standpoint, and certainly circumstances where you can make someone subject to civil liability. uh, no matter what it is that you do, that doesn't change it. It's kind of like if somebody punches you in the face, now you may punch them back and knock them clean out, but the person who committed assault was still them. because they punched you in the face first. And that doesn't change just because you knocked them out. And so
Exactly.
that's the situation. Yes, there may have been um, a dispute, and I don't even necessarily call it a dispute, really, because he allowed no time to go by. There was no time that went by on this thing for either of you. The
Yeah,
repairs,
there
not the
wasn't.
repairs. The work
There,
was finished at 7 o'clock at night. You told him that you were going to take care of it with going to the bank in the morning, since he made it clear he wanted cash and whatever. By 7 a.m., before banks even open, he's banging on your door to do God knows what had you opened your door, because given the level of instability it takes to do the things that he did and do them repeatedly, yeah, you definitely didn't need to open that door. And so there's no justification for that. And if you go, as you are doing, in taking him to court into civil court and small claims court for your money, that doesn't change just because you may have had a dispute or there was a timing issue on the money and all of that. None of that changes the fact that what he did to your property was illegal. There was recourse that he had if he felt that some kind of way, hell, even by that afternoon, that you didn't give him the money first thing in the morning as soon as you crawled out the bed, then hell, you go to the courthouse that afternoon. Whatever the case may be, this is not a
yeah,
recourse.
it was a
There's no excuse for this, and you have
it
right
was
to
it
report.
was an overreaction on his part, and having worked with contractors and everything like that, and me having experience negotiating with people like that, because I do
Well,
it.
no, this
Cause
wasn't an overreaction. This was flat out criminal activity that, of course,
yeah,
also has civil liability. He
yeah,
and we need to use the language for what it was. This person vandalized your property, did it repeatedly and in high numbers.
yes, he did that, and it was just ridiculous. But the move forward with the explanation is that I knew that once I sent it on text messages that I'm going to pay you,
Oh
that then
well,
it's
yeah.
a it was a legal. I knew when I verbalized it, it's a verbal contract. I said,
Well, and he did
yeah,
the work.
yeah.
He did
And
the
he did
work.
the
I
work,
mean, yeah.
and I had every, and I liked the work that he did, and I had every intention of paying him. And the truth of the matter, I've gone at times. I've had landscapers, and I didn't pay them for the entire summer. They still landscaped my property, and then they gave me a bill at the end of the summer, and then I paid them. I said,
But in
I've
this
done that.
particular but in this particular case, it was nothing like that. This was a simple contract. Offer,
Exactly.
acceptance, consideration. That's it. And those things were in place. You had an agreed upon amount.
Exactly.
You may not have necessarily liked it, but like you said, you know, you'll know next time on the front end, like those other contractors you all were fine with the bill going all summer because you knew what the bill was going to be at the end of the summer. There's some people that pay, we pay our landscaper quarterly. So, which in the, summer language would be summer, spring, fall, whatever. So yeah, I get it. And that is what, but ultimately, let's talk about recourse here, because we talked about his recourse in terms of what he could have done versus what he did do. Now, most importantly, let's talk about yours. Now, first and foremost, this individual did commit criminal acts against you, several counts. Vandalized your car. He vandalized your property, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He did this to your property. Now, since you didn't talk to him, you don't have to worry about the threats or anything. However, given what he did, it is the type of thing that I would certainly get serve them with a no trespassing, just because then that would be, then I'm saying these are just options, because then, of course, anytime he came on the property, he would be charged. People certainly have a right to get restraining orders against people. I mean, he did vandalism, but he did it in the way, especially once he escalated to going to your vehicle, which wasn't even right in front of your house. So taking the time to go to your vehicle and do what he did, that is something that would definitely make someone feel unsafe, like they were being stalked. And so certainly I think that someone would be well within their rights, if they chose to get a restraining order against someone who kept coming back and forth, doing things, because you certainly can do an order that keeps people away from your home. I had to do that once before, because and have someone have a stay away order from the home, and they didn't physically harm me, but because of the things that they did in relation to the home. So that's those. And again, I'm not saying for the audience this is everything that Sean did, but these are some of your areas of recourse. But we do know, most importantly, you call the police, you file a police report, and or go to your magistrate's office and file charges. Either way, that is one. So that's on the criminal side. On the other side of things, you can certainly file in civil court. Most areas, small claims court, of course, everybody's number is slightly different, but typically, if it's less than $10,000, is typically in small claims court. I believe you said in New Jersey you were told it was 3,000.
Yes, it's $3,000.
Okay, and some I've even heard as high as like 15, which doesn't sound small to me, but at any rate, it was 3,000, which, given what you spent to replace it and keep doing it, you estimate between that, as well as the money, between the money that you paid him and having to replace the items twice, you're coming up to at least $3,000
Yeah, what I did was,
plus your
uh,
deductible for your vehicle.
plus, yeah, I mean, we can go over it and everything like that. I've just talked about it with an attorney, but the breakdown was this: I filed claims with my homeowner's insurance and my
Hmm.
auto insurance. Of course, the car was totaled out. The $1,000 deductible. I have $1,000 deductible on home and auto, so I'm looking for restoration of that. The home and the insurance company are going to go for. They're going to go into recovery and
Of
seek
course.
damages from him directly. Seek directly from him directly. So I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I don't know how he's going to respond to that. That's up to him.
That's between him and them. Yeah.
That's between him and them. But I'm pretty sure it's going to put a squeeze on him. What I did then do is I itemized the cost, everything, the repair costs for everything, the replacement shrubs, having to
Yes,
replace
that's
the
one of the
mulch
most
and
important things.
yeah,
Document, document, document. And you've
uh,
been doing a great job of that. Documentation and
mm,
photos.
documentation. I have the photos, and then what I also did was I had another landscaper come up and gave me an itemized
Yep.
uh, invoice of what it would take to repair the damages to the property.
Very
Um,
important.
so I actually got that today. I actually
Because
got that
that's going to be
today.
one of the things that the judge is going to ask. Do you plan to get this redone professionally, especially because what he did, be careful with the moving around,
Oh,
because
sorry. Excuse me.
what he did, he may have caused even more damage because he was digging and what have you. So if you are looking to have professional services done, then of course you need to give the judge an idea of how much that's going to cost. So, because again,
Yes.
it's all about documents when you go into court. And again, for those listening, because when you go into small claims, you don't necessarily need an attorney for that, especially because you're seeking smaller amounts. And obviously, in seeking smaller amounts, watch the yawning. You're going to make me yawn. It's seeking the smaller amounts.
It's been,
I know
excuse me,
it's
I
a
just had
little
to,
late.
it's been a long day. And no, not because I had the election yesterday. I hope everybody voted, but I
Yes,
also
yes,
was up
voted.
at camping. So I'm sorry about that, audience. Please, I apologize.
But yeah, so sometimes, a lot of times, and totally understandable, people are reluctant to get an attorney for a small claims matter if you're just seeking about $3,000, and then you're going to turn around and spend several $1,000s on an attorney. Then that's another thing that turns people off from pursuing the matter, and they just go, okay, screw it. Or if an attorney thinks it's worth it and that your likelihood of winning is great, then they may do it on a contingency. But even with that, because the amount that you're seeking, if the amount you're seeking is like, less than $5,000, then again, you still may feel some kind of way about giving somebody 33 to 40%. And even as an attorney, I certainly empathize and understand that, because we're not free and you need your money. So I get that, especially when you are trying to recover funds to replace things, or reimburse yourself for money that was not in the cards to come out of your rainy day fund, if you're blessed enough to even have one. So all of that being said, it is, I know it can be intimidating generally going to court, but you can make small claims court happen. Even when they send, someone may send their insurance company to represent them, because if the person has insurance, depending on who you're dealing with, then you could be dealing with their insurance company attorneys. Or if let's say the home improvement person you're dealing with works for a larger company, so again, they can afford to have corporate counsel, etc. If you have your documents, even if not necessarily pictures, although they help, but they're not the be all end all. If you have your documents and your documents are in order, and your documents can be as simple as making sure that you are writing down contemporaneously with the events. And by that, I mean when the events are going on, you're writing down everything that happens. You essentially will find yourself like keeping a diary of what has happened. If you got to use your date book to do it, or however you calendar things, whatever you do, if you've got a day by day, step by step, or of what it is that you're doing, keep the receipts for what you're spending, who you talk to if you get estimates, because if it's a home improvement issue, then, which is what we're largely talking about here, then you definitely need to get an estimate, possibly even two, of what these items cost. The estimate should meet what is considered to be industry standard in terms of dealing with a reputable company that's not known for gouging people, so that you don't come in there with an estimate that is so outrageous that the court will go, well, thank you for the estimate, but this looked about as crazy as what you told me this other person wanted to charge you. So those are the types of
And
things.
I thought about
Yeah.
that, but I eventually.
Now, with your situation is a little bit different, because you are not just dealing with and to be fair to everybody, a lot of times that if you have a home improvement disaster where not only did the person not do what it is that they were supposed to do. Because a lot of times, as you and I both know, when people have a home improvement problem, it is usually because the person either didn't finish what they started, or did something wrong that has to be redone. Like they did a whole thing, it got inspected, and the inspector goes, "Who did you have do this? Boo boo fool, because it ain't right. You got to redo it." Those types of things. So when you have an issue like the boo boo fool issue, or like what happened to you that turned into freaking natural born killers without the killing part, you you want to have, your situation is a little bit different. The estimate probably will be higher than whatever the original cost was, because typically the new person coming in has to not only do the work that you originally wanted done, but there's a possibility that they've got to fix something that the other person screwed up. I mean, you had somebody cut wires and whatever. Now, as it relates to cutting wires, that's something Verizon has to deal with. And don't be afraid too, if you have to take off work, for instance, to wait for Verizon. Let's say, for those of you listening, somebody's supposed to do your roof, they cut all kinds of stuff and they screw up your satellite, they cut the wires, they screw up your cable or whatever. If you have to sit around and wait for those people to come, also have some documentation from HR regarding the time that you missed from work. It's not every judge will award it, but they just might. This was all a part, anything that was a part of you being made whole should be considered. Now, whether a judge includes that or not, I would not hesitate to bring it. And again, that is very simple. All you need is something from HR showing exactly what your salary what your salary is, and then you have something showing your hours missed and what that breaks down to per hour. Like if you're a salaried employee, do the math and break it down per hour. And if the judge thinks the math is mathing, then good for you. So these, of course, I am, I guess people would say that I'm mean when it comes to this, to any kind of thing, which I don't mind, especially when it comes to dealing with victims. Although, oddly enough, I'm a criminal defense attorney most of the time, but I get it. And so I have no issue with people exercising their rights to the fullest extent of the law and their tolerance. So if someone wants to go criminal and civil, go for it. If you want to do one versus the other, go for it. Now, I will say that sometimes, I know at least where I practice, most of the time, if we do a criminal case and it involves any type of property damage, if the victim presents the property damage, then the court will usually provide the amount in restitution. The reason why I recommend going civil as well, because I mean, one will cancel the other out if they pay it, so it doesn't really matter. But the reason why I recommend going civil as well is because typically in criminal court, the court will award restitution, which is just the value of what was taken or vandalized or what have you. Like somebody wrote you bad checks, you get the amount you lost through the bank, or somebody damaged your vehicle, you get the amount of vehicle damage on the estimate. In civil court, you have a better chance of getting what it would cost to actually repair it. So that is why, if you're going to take the time to go to court, then make sure that you file in civil court. It is also, from an expense standpoint, the most you're going to spend as it relates to the civil court is time, not the money. And I'm talking about small claims court, because small claims court is not terribly expensive. Again, it depends on where you are. I think in the jurisdiction where I'm at, it's something like maybe $54. How much is it there where you are? Do
Oh,
you recall?
75
Yeah,
$75.
exactly. So yes, again, it's a pain in the butt. You want to punch somebody because you had to pay the $75 as well. So it's a cost benefit analysis, sure, but ultimately biggest expense there is just going to be time, because yes, you are going to have to go to court, and unless the person capitulates the first time and go, okay, I did it, what do I need to pay? You're probably going to have to go to court two, possibly even three times. But that is where have making sure that you communicate with the representatives comes into play. Because if they do have a representative on their behalf, they're probably going to, especially when it's just blatantly that their person is wrong, they are probably going to try to settle with you and that type of thing. So when they're trying to get in touch with you, or they're sending you letters, trying to call you, reach out to you, take the call. Don't agree to anything that you don't understand. If they send you a letter and you don't fully understand it, make sure that you have somebody in your pocket that you can talk to that probably does. You don't have to, if they go, well, this offer is only good for for this number of days, and let's say they give you an unreasonable amount of time. I'm only making this offer for 48 hours, so you need to let me know. If you're making me an offer, then that tells me that you are concerned that you are going to lose. So you will get my answer when I give it to you. So, and that is the way you have to think. You've got right on your side. You've got your pictures. You've got your documentation, and you can take it to the bank that Just Johnda is telling you that even if there is a dispute over, let's say there's a dispute over money or what have you, there is no recourse that involves someone coming and tearing up the property or ripping off something that they put on. When you sell a house, you're not even supposed to take down the window treatments if they are, you know how people get those window treatments that are attached to the wall. Unless you agree to that, that has to stay there because it becomes a part of the structure of the house. You don't remove a deck because the person who contracted with you didn't finish paying you for the deck. You have to seek other recourse. If you can't remove a deck, then you can't go and dig up a lawn. It's the same thing.
Well,
And in this particular case, we didn't even get to a point of not paying or anything like that, because we're talking about foolishness that began within 12 hours. And that's another takeaway from this, just in case people go, well, he didn't pay. No, within 12 hours, this person decided to go into nut mode. So, in this case, it was definitely extreme, but there's lessons to take away from it as well. And not necessarily to you, I'm talking about to the audience in terms of thinking that, oh, I can't do anything because of the money. No, vandalism's vandalism.
yeah, I mean, there's lessons to be learned here that I need to go back to my principles as far as negotiating prices and everything before people start work. Also, doing a little bit more background check on the people who I'm dealing with. Luckily, my girlfriend and my sister-in-law, they were able to locate the gentleman's
Good.
LLC address, his personal address. They also did a background check on him as well, and learned that he has several liens already on him. So
So this isn't new stuff.
yeah, this doesn't seem to be new stuff for him. So I mean, in the truth
But
of the
it's
matter is
tough,
just that,
right?
yeah.
Because if someone is referred to you by someone else and you have had a couple of encounters with them that seem positive, you don't know that things are going to go nutbush city on you.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just the unfortunate thing. But what I will do is I thank you for being willing to come on and tell your story, because this whole thing has been quite traumatic. I mean, when you first told me about it, in addition to being upset for you because you're my friend, I mean, it is scary when things involve your home and people rolling up and all kinds of stuff, and you know that you are dealing with, in, let's say, unstable behavior. So how, we don't know him personally. I haven't seen any of his medical records, so I won't make any allegations that can get me in trouble. I will just say that the behavior that was displayed was unstable, and you take that
Yes,
however you want it.
I think
You
that was the
don't,
best way to put it.
you have no idea of that until somebody does it. You just don't,
Exactly.
especially given that you had uh, at least two or three prior experiences with him, smaller jobs, but still, positive. Like you said, he was doing some work. You were barbecuing. Hey, bro, you want a burger? I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
well, it was just weird, and people just need to know. And luckily, I've been through not through this before, but I've seen enough with my mom and dad, dealt with people, and that I knew better. So part of it I blame, but I'm not going to take responsibility
Oh,
for
hell
his
no.
criminal behavior and lack
No.
of professionalism. I won't do that, and I'm not
No.
going to stand that. And I had one friend who said, "Well, you shouldn't pursue that. He's crazy. You should just leave it alone." I said, "No, because he could do it to somebody else, and if he wants to put himself off as being a legitimate business person, then he needs to have atonement for what he did, and I'm not going to back
and
down from
he's
that."
and he's not crazy in the sense that the way that your friend is probably saying it, like from a sympathetic standpoint, like, well, he's got problems and whatever. No, he's got problems when it's convenient. He
Exactly.
wasn't so crazy that he couldn't function and come do the work. This is a person who has an LLC and whatever. So if they're crazy, if they're on this or on that, if they have highs and lows, we know they're functional because they can do the work when they can do it. Like you said, the work was actually quite nice. Had he not torn up his own work, you were ready to recommend him to other people. Well,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
not as
yeah,
prices and stuff, but had that
not as
whole thing.
I would have going forward. I would have been, I would have been like, okay, I know what it is, but going forward, we'd have been talking price before. I
Exactly,
said, I would
because
have
the
continued.
quality of work he
Exactly.
did do well. He just got a little punch happy with the pricing, and then went all the way when it came to what in his mind he thought he was supposed to do about it. But
Exactly.
yeah, so but again, I think that it's still important to talk about these things because people get very uncomfortable when it comes to money, or just when they feel like, well, maybe if I did this and didn't do that, well, that is no that's no excuse for anybody to abuse their position in a situation, because the
Exactly.
reality of it is that if if the money thing, because we really can't even say it was like a big money thing, because again, he started tripping within 12 hours, but let's say it had went on for weeks or whatever, which clearly it didn't. I mean, you paid the dude even though he jacked up your lawn. Then even with that, your recourse is still not to stalk or vandalize or make somebody feel uncomfortable. None of that falls under his list of possible recourses. No different than if things legally for you, you would not have been justified in hunting him down and whooping his ass. Now, on in street law, yes, but but no, you would not have been. You would have been arrested and would not have been deemed to have been. That wouldn't have been a justifiable beatdown. your punishment, we might have been able to work with that a little once you told the story, though. But you'd still be guilty of assault. So
Yeah, I
good
still be
thing
guilty of
that we
assault.
kept the boys at home. But
Yeah, I think that was the best thing.
okay, well, again, thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for
Johnda, for having me.
to
I hope my experiences helps other people and they don't make a mistake. And I appreciate the advice that you're giving. And I look forward to more, let's be honest, just Johnda legal advice
Absolutely. I've
episodes.
got some good stuff coming up. Everybody, I know you have been waiting on my Erica and Tom Girardi update. It is coming. There's so much stuff. This case is like changing every day. Now, just a quickie, because this is good. It's good and juicy. And Sean, you're like, what is this story? I'll talk to you about it later. But today's ruling, Erica Girardi lost her motion in court to have a gag order put on. Well, I'll tell you what's trying to do. Erica is trying to, and this is Erica from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica Jane. She is trying to keep people from talking about her fight to keep her things because she knows that makes her look bad. Her husband, and by extension, she as well, he's being accused of embezzling millions and millions and millions from his clients. And Sean, it's bad. We're talking this person. I'll have to remind you what episode it is. So you go back and listen to it. That this person has taken the money that he got from flight victims, airplane crashes. He's one of the best known injury attorneys in the country. You remember the movie Aaron Brockovich, Sean, with Julia Roberts?
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
He
yes,
may have
yes. I had it
stepped
on
away,
mute.
but for those of you who remember
No, no, no. I had it on mute.
oh,
I
you
had
had
it
it
on
on mute.
mute. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
remember the movie with Aaron Brockovich with Julia Roberts?
Yes,
The
absolutely.
movie basically, well, that movie obviously centered on her. Who was actually the law clerk, because as you recall in the movie, she wasn't an attorney, but she was a law clerk. Well, the part that they really didn't play up, because the movie really focused on her efforts as it relates to the people in this town, but the lawyer who handled the case when she got all of that information is this same dude, Tom Girardi. So that is how top of the line.
Oh,
Yes,
oh, Tom
that is
Gerard. Okay.
yes. Okay, yeah, everybody knows this. This is big time lawyer. So he is being taken down right now because the money from those type of cases, like the Lion Air crash, all of those, the toxic cases and all of that, well, the hundreds of millions that were supposed to go to the different law firms that worked with him, with the clients, because sometimes you'll bring in other law firms when you have these big class actions, the clients themselves. So there's people who can't get the surgeries they need to get because the millions that they were supposed to get, he's somewhere living with his Real Housewives of Beverly Hills wife, driving all kinds of fancy cars, all kinds of exclusive jewelry and all of that, and this little so-called singing career and all of this. The victims weren't being paid. And he has
Mm.
had hundreds of lawsuits and bar complaints against him, but yet he's the guy who takes care of everybody. He's got the box seats that he lets the judges use. He's head in the big time in the legal community and what have you. So you look and you see all of these bar complaints and lawsuits, but not once has his license been suspended ever.
Mm.
Meanwhile, people's license get suspended for things as simple as just not, paying some fees for the classes they make you take every year. So just all kinds of stuff. Well, anyway, what is going on now, obviously, that everything is coming out, is that in addition to them going through a divorce, which of course she conveniently filed right around the time of all the lawsuits, but of course the bankruptcy court is seizing everything. And
Ugh.
and there's itemization of everything. Well, if you and her have been married for over 20 years, then that includes all of the community property as well. So she is trying to stop her community property from being seized. And of course, every time she and her lawyers file a motion saying, don't seize this from me, don't seize that from me, of course, this stuff is public. So what happens? Everybody knows that she is so into, despite the fact that she gets a salary from Bravo for appearing on that show, that people are looking at her like, oh, so you don't want to give back all the jewelry that this dude gave you that is basically from ill-gotten gain. So that makes her look like crap. So what she wanted was a gag order to keep that from being talked about, because of course she looks like shit when that gets talked about. Well, the judge said no. So you have a song that talks about is expensive to be you. Well, then we can talk about what those expenses are, because that's the type of thing that she says. Like she says she spends $50,000, no, 40,000 a month on her glam squad, for her hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. Well, all of those statements are coming back to bite you in the ass. The other thing that happened today that her attorneys tried to fight against is there's an attorney, Ron Richards. You need to follow him on Twitter. He has been following this case very closely on Twitter and talking about it. He's in California as well. And he's been watching the show, even pointing out things that she has said or that she's showing on the show that that makes her look bad, or it's the money and stuff like that. Like the fact that she mentioned that she was on Lexapro. So he was like, okay, well, now they can talk about her medical records because she just talked about them on television by saying she was on Lexapro. So anyway, there was a petition by the other side for him to be involved in the case. This guy who's on Twitter, for him to be involved in the case as well, to help ferret out all the assets. And her people objected. And the judge said, nope, they can have them. So two rulings that are pretty major if you're Erica Jane, that came out today. So that was some big time stuff for those who are wondering about folks on the pop culture front and the stuff they're going through in court. So, and in other quickie housewives news, Jen Shah, who is also going through her federal criminal case, one of her cousins attempted to put up a GoFundMe for her for $2.5 million for her legal fees. And that got shut down when lots of people complained. Nobody wants to pay your legal fees when you're charged with stealing from old people. So that is a quick update. I'm certainly going to talk more about these things this week. And I haven't forgotten about you all with Russell Simmons and Komora Lee. That situation is messy, but I am also following it closely. So stay tuned for that. And as always, if you want to talk about it, chances are I want to talk about it too. So let me know so we can be honest together. Follow me on all of the major platforms, and all of my contacts for social media are in the comment box. And well, I'm sorry, not the comment box, in the info box. So you'll find it all there. Thanks again, Sean. Good night, everyone.